It is the Anfield Wrap on this Monday. Neil Atkinson here. Liverpool played Fulham. It feels like it was about 3.5 weeks ago, to be quite honest with you. I could barely remember the game this morning when I was pulling the agenda together, and I've watched it back. But from there, lots of things happened, and we will get into them. We will look ahead. We'll look at the big picture. We'll look ahead to Southampton as well. I've got Kieran, Molyneux, Beth, Lindop from ESPN, and Dan Austin all with me, and a pleasure to have them. I've also got Philip Breen, who has written an adaptation of David Peace's Red or Dead, and is putting it on at the Royal Court. That's to come too later on in the show, so everything that you need all the way through. But we are here in association with Peloton. Peloton is the official digital fitness partner of Liverpool Football Club, and it is currently showing fans how we score together through thousands of workouts across 14 disciplines, taught by more than 50 incredible instructors. There's a really funny Andy Robertson thing knocking around on Peloton at the minute, and two members who are part of the Liverpool Football Club Peloton community, Jamie Baines and Phil McDonnell, both won co-branded Liverpool and Peloton bike pluses and tickets to the Manchester City game as well. There's loads of stuff going on at the minute around the Peloton stuff. I need to get back on it. My ankle injury is just about done, although I think on Saturday night, Dan Austin, I have injured myself a little bit at some point, just between you and I. While performing Super Bass? Well, being out with you in general. I woke up on Sunday morning and went, well, that ankle's got interested again. So at some point... I imagine the soju numbed it during the event, and then you've really felt it the next day. And then I've aggravated it maybe in some way, shape or form, but I do need to clamber back on, as I very much enjoyed being on the Peloton so far. We are with them all the way through, and there is an offer at the moment on onepeloton.co.uk. Find your push, find your power. Up to £450 off selected Peloton bike plus and tread packages at onepeloton.co.uk. This offer ends on the 21st of January 2025. Internet connection and Peloton all access membership at £39 per month is required. Terms apply. See onepeloton.co.uk. Excellent stuff there across the board. I want to start with the big picture, Beth. Chelsea, we've got to consider them real now. If people weren't considering them real, they're in real. I think now's the time to stop. We've got to take them very, very, very seriously. The flip side is I think we are able to say that City just look a bit of a shambles. So it still feels like it's Liverpool versus two. Arsenal have sort of resigned themselves from scoring goals in open play, which is sound. But Chelsea have got to be considered a very live threat for this league title.
They have. I'd still say Arsenal are probably Liverpool's main threat, purely because history dictates that they're the most likely to be able to put a real run together. But that said, Chelsea have been really impressive. They're scoring a lot of goals. They've got a relatively kind run of fixtures coming up as well. And it is slightly disheartening when you think of the position Liverpool were in before that Newcastle game, where it felt like they were already storming ahead, and now that gap has been eroded to 2 points, obviously with a game in hand. But there's certainly no guarantees Liverpool are going to win at Goodison Park. So, of course, Chelsea have to be considered a threat. I do think Manchester City are out of the title race now, purely because, not even because I don't think they can make up the points, but just because I think you look at them and you think they're going to drop more points. They look an absolute shambles, don't they, really, at that? They look in crisis, I think. It's now that sort of, or more accurately, they look unstable, mm-hmm. Beth. It was a pretty plodding Manchester derby, but you sort of thought, well, City will just see this over the line. And then one bad thing happens. It's then backed up by a second bad thing, i.e. the bad ball. Then the second bad thing is the concession of the penalty. Then the penalty goes in, and then the next bad thing. It feels at the minute like it's suddenly built on a house of cards, which it's never felt before, even when things haven't been going brilliantly for them. Yeah, they look completely shorn of confidence, don't they? And in the past, even City, if they fell behind in games, which they did a lot last season, but you always felt like they could find a way back, whereas you feel now that the players and even the manager really just look completely at a loss when something goes against them. And I'm sure they will sort of pick back up at some point, whether they go and make some signings in January, who knows. But I still think that they look like a team, as you say, in crisis at the moment. So I think Arsenal and Chelsea are the two that Liverpool need to be worrying about most. They're the two to be worried about most, and Chelsea should really be genuinely worried about, yes? Yeah. For me, I agree with the manager. They're the best side we played this year. 2 points feels closer than we want it to be, but obviously we have got that game in hand. But I mean, there's things about Chelsea that the keeper, for example, the keeper's not great. There's things about the team which make me think they might drop off. It might be a little bit too early for them to sustain a title race. However, I think they're our main rivals now. They're just based on the fact that City are all over the place, and as you say, Arsenal are not a team that are scoring a free will.
they seem to have changed the way they play a little bit this season, relying on a little set pieces and stuff like that. So I do think Chelsea are our main rivals. It's whether they'll stay up our backside the whole way, I don't know. But Liverpool just need to keep winning through December.
Keep winning through December. Could do with starting winning in December, to be honest with you, Dan. At this point, it's there's the fantastic win against City the right way back at the start of the month, and it is worth pointing out that obviously Liverpool have only played the matches there since against Newcastle and Girona, where they do in fact win. But we have allowed a little bit of a buffer to erode, a bit of that out of our hands with the weather in the game against Everton. But it now puts, I'd say, the same amount of pressure, but more clarity about what it'll mean against Tottenham next weekend.
Yeah, the point of having the buffer is that you can drop a few and it's still all right. So I don't think there's need for anyone to be kind of overly worried about things. If you take certainly the 2 league games in isolation, I think they're both fine draws against good teams in difficult circumstances, really. The fact that they'd won some games previously in the campaign where I think they didn't really play very well at all now means that these ones are okay. For example, we went to Wolves and I didn't think that Liverpool were very good at all that night, but still managed to win the game. Yeah. There were a few others like that around the time as well. So yes, they could do with getting a proper league win at some point soon, but I think in terms of the way the rhythm of the season has gone so far, it's fine and comprehensible that the last two just haven't managed to be for the reasons that happened within those 2 games.
The Spurs obviously win comfortably yesterday, Dan, but I don't think we learn anything from that. I'm not sort of looking at that and thinking, next weekend, they've got issues themselves at the back, which Liverpool maybe need to learn from this week, because we came up against a Fulham team that had issues at the back, and when we had 11, we didn't hurt them enough. But they've also got a big game for themselves against Manchester United on Thursday night in the League Cup, which feels like, first and foremost, they haven't got a lot of room in terms of rotating. And secondly, you think that manager and that club could just sort of do with winning a trophy as well. The League Cup game seems bigger for them than it is for us.
Postecoglou said afterwards yesterday that Southampton are capable of playing nice stuff, but the way they play really suits us. I think he was right. They do that really high press. Southampton are very prone to risk around the back, or certainly the base of midfield.
The big issue with the risk reward thing with Southampton, hasn't they? They've really pushed that line to its maximum.
They've gone heavy on the risk, I would say, and not heavy anywhere near enough on the reward. So a side as poor as that would have conceded 3 against probably anyone in the league last night, but Tottenham were able to get a few more and get them early because they're very useful at pressing people high up the pitch. So I don't think Tottenham will come away from that thinking like they've turned a huge corner and now one of the best teams in the league or something like that. I think they benefit as well, or have done in the recent past, from playing away from home, because the crowd is on his back and seemingly on the players' back because of the inconsistency and stuff. So maybe that's why they've been able to go to Southampton and score a load, and go to City and score a load, but then we'll lose at home to Chelsea and Ipswich in relatively quick succession. So maybe the fact that we're actually playing them there rather than at Anfield might be helpful. But no, I don't think they're any different a proposition than what they were 5 or 6 weeks ago, basically, based on the recent performances. It's remained that same level of sort of predictable unpredictability, if that makes sense. So I do think it's a game that, although the crowd will be right up for it before Christmas, and it'll be dark by the time it kicks off and everything like that, but I think that Liverpool are considerably a better team than Tottenham are at the moment, and should be very much hoping to go there and win.
Okay, that is to come. We'll start off though, Kia. We'll go back to Liverpool 2, Fulham 2. The opening, Liverpool concede and go down to 10 men really, really early. There's some mitigating circumstances around it, but I think almost back to front, what happens in that first 15 minutes, it really isn't good enough from Liverpool. They've got to, and it's contrasts so much with what they show after they get the moments of adversity. 1-0 down, sudden 10-man situation, and practically every Liverpool player, I'd argue, stands up and is counted over the course of the night of the remaining minutes. It would have been useful if they'd have stood up and been counted in the same way in the first 15 minutes.
I agree, I completely agree, but there is going to be moments in seasons where moments of madness happens, or Liverpool are not at the best for 10-15 minutes. It happened. It was a mistake. We ended up getting sent off for it. And you made a good point about him potentially being injured at that point.
Well, the manager talks about it post-match as well.
Yeah. So, obviously, it's not ideal, but the way Liverpool reacted to that, we can't moan. If we're going to go down to 10 men in the first 10 minutes, that's exactly how you want your football team to play. some players really stood up for Liverpool. And in the end of the day, I've seen Liverpool lose games like that over the years so many times. So, a point, I know, even though it's at home, it's not the worst result.
It's not the worst result, Beth, but it's worth saying they start, and it's understandable, you are away, it's a difficult ground at St James's Park. They start that not great. The manager's very critical of the first half against Girona. There's oddity in the first half away at Southampton, where they've got themselves into the lead. They look like they're on top, and then that half sort of gets away from them a little bit. I'm trying to look at. You think about last season. There was a lot of conceding the first goal last season and the season before. They are just disjointed, these first 30s. And there's something funny where I feel as though Virgil's got the defensive line really aggressive, really high, and then the midfield and attack are starting sluggishly. Whether that could be the opposition, and everything's different as well, Beth, you've got to allow that, but it feels like this is something that the manager maybe needs to get back to beginning to resolve on the training ground somewhere.
Yeah, definitely, and as you say, it's an enduring problem, isn't it? It's not sort of exclusive to Arne Slot coming in. It dates back to Jurgen Klopp's tenure, and the brilliance of Liverpool under Klopp was that they had those powers of recovery so often, and managed to stage so many incredible comebacks. But when you're going for a league title, you don't want to invest emotionally and physically and expend that much energy as Liverpool did at times last season and have had to do a little bit over the last couple of weeks. So yeah, it's absolutely something that Liverpool need to address. I think it's quite strange because it's very rare you come out of a home game where you've dropped points, particularly to a side like Fulham, who are obviously a good footballing side, but a side you would expect to be beaten at home, and have a sort of a strengthened conviction that Liverpool can go on and win this league title. But I felt that on Saturday, because I genuinely think, I'm not sure there's another team in the league that would have got a point out of that, when you consider how early that they were down to 10 men. They were already a goal down at that point. So there are definitely positives to take, but you can't be starting slowly all the time. And I think obviously the big buzzword for Arne Slot is control, and I think there's a fine line between being control and also sort of lacking a little bit of intensity, and I think Liverpool certainly lacked intensity in that first 15.
It feels to me like this is a league-wide thing. Watching the Manchester derby yesterday, watching even Brighton versus Palace, that game sort of blows itself up towards the end of the first half, but first 20s, I think there is a little bit of a thing where sides are trying to just be a bit more controlled, start a little bit slower, play their way in, and that's why you get the shock of a lot of what Ipswich do. I think Ipswich have scored a lot of early goals because they've almost targeted, right, we're going to hit everyone early and see if we can get something to hang on to. But to your point, Beth, there is a difference between that being the way to do it and then getting yourselves caught, and it just looks to me at the minute a little bit like Liverpool. They're almost giving opposition sides encouragement, and I think that Fulham were really encouraged by the way Liverpool started that game.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing. I think, if you want to be controlled, that's fine, but then you also can't concede big chances in the way that Liverpool have done over the past few weeks. So, if you want to keep it tight and just sort of be knocking the ball around the back for 15 minutes to take any kind of sting out of the game, that's fine, but that's not what Liverpool did. They lacked intensity in their own game and going forward, but then allowed Fulham to come onto them far too easily. And I think we'll get on to individual performances. I think Trent's performance for me was a worry on Saturday, and obviously that first goal was born from him letting Anthony Robinson go past him, which is no great shame. He's a very good player, had a great game on Saturday, but yeah, I completely agree. I think there is a really fine line between control and just lacking a bit of intensity, and I think Liverpool sort of fell foul of that.
Dan, I thought, again, Fulham were excellent until the red card. I think the real mixed bag after the red card, certainly in the rest of the first half, I think they're almost not quite sure what to do. It's a little bit like getting all your Christmas presents too early for them, and they can't quite make sense of it, I think, in that period. But until the red card, we have to allow them to be excellent. The other flip side of it, though, is that Liverpool don't look sluggish when Robertson bursts into the penalty area and gets absolutely marmalised by Diop, and it was a really bad tackle. And I know it's a contentious area, but for me, I don't like any part of it. I understand the late flags, but if you're going to flag, he just looked offside from where I was anyway, Diaz. And if you decide that that's the man that's active or whoever it was he was given off, I was right in line with it. And then, Robertson still is, but he puts himself in a position for that. I'll say again, I think it is a genuinely shocking tackle that, I don't think the lad means anything malicious by it, but he's just caught unawares. And all of this does add to mitigating circumstances for Liverpool. So it's important to sort of drop them in. But the flip side of it is, for 15 minutes, you really would have struggled to name a single Liverpool player who was actually playing well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Fulham have got a lot of... It's not a complicated shape. It's 4-2-3-1. Everyone's got a very designated role. There's not a lot of swapping over, but there's loads of speed and movement about the way that they move the ball to one another. And people like Iwobi and Wilson and Pereira, and obviously Smith Rowe came on, are just really good at carrying it and kind of buying you 20 yards by just drifting forward for 3 seconds in possession. I think Liverpool struggled to deal with that sort of speed and movement at the start of the game. And then I think Diop probably should have gone. Robertson had played a ball under very little pressure, just blammed it out of play. A side foot, left-footed pass that he tried to play down the line towards, I think it was Gakpo, and just boomed it out of play. And it was quite clear that he was in a fair amount of pain 5 to 10 minutes after the challenge, I think. And I imagine, therefore, if Tsimikas were on the bench, or if even Konate were on the bench and you could move Gomez to left-back, I think they'd have done that. But he's only got Kwanzaa there. Clearly doesn't fancy playing him very much. I don't think so far. And has just stuck with it. And I think a lot of why the penalty is given away comes from the fact that...
The red card, not the penalty, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, the red card comes from the fact that he looks uncomfortable. Like the way he moves and goes to his left is just really unnatural. So I think that's... plenty of that is circumstance. If the decision is given at the other end, it's a totally different game, and if there's someone on the bench, then it changes for Liverpool as well. But fundamentally, Fulham are good. They're very well coached. They've got very talented players who are really comfortable on the ball. And if Liverpool are in this kind of period of starting slowly, then they're the exact kind of opponent that can actually relax and take advantage of that. Though then they really did struggle to adjust to the fact that not only were Liverpool a man light and therefore doing something different, they did about 6 different things in the rest of the first half. And as much as I in the crowd, I'm thinking, who's playing where here? I think they're doing that. Like Sasa Lukic, for example, is looking and going, who's my man when they're running forward here?
I want to go back onto that in a second. I want to go back to that red card though, because he is poor for it, Robertson. But as you say, I do think that there is the mitigation is in there. Played well against Girona. There is a little bit of a thing where this season, he's been at the scene of some crimes. It's worth saying, Robertson. So this doesn't help. The other facet on it as well, to your Kwanzaa point, there is a bit of a question as to whether or not it doesn't fancy him or didn't want to leave himself where he didn't. If he thought there was a chance Robertson could run it off, doesn't want to leave himself with no other defensive change as the match wears on. And I don't know where the balance is on any of these things currently. I think that this is with Robertson. As I say, he was given man of the match against Girona. I thought they probably should have been the goalkeeper, but it's absolutely fine that it ends up being Robertson over the course of the game. He was certainly the best Liverpool outfield player in a game Liverpool win. But there is with it really where I think everyone would just quite like to see him sort of put 5 consistent games in back to back. And as I say, whilst in this one I think he gets walloped, it doesn't help in general, and he's now going to get the opportunity against Southampton, but that is probably what would have been the plan anyway.
He's played terrifically in some of the games. I thought he was great against City. Played Villa very well, didn't he? If I remember right, yeah. And then some of the others really not so well. But that can be the case. There's a number of players in the Liverpool team, for example. I thought that after the red card, certainly that Szoboszlai played excellently the other day. But if you rewind 2 months, he was getting it from all angles, from everyone, for seemingly not working hard enough and not doing enough on the ball. There've been a few other players, certainly within the past 12 months. So, again, I thought after the red card, Gomez was terrific. He's had loads of stick off people over time. The idea that like Robertson is useless to Liverpool at this point, which I've seen touted by plenty of people, like simply isn't true, or that his like legs have completely gone and he can't run anymore. Well, 3 weeks ago he was part of a team that beat Manchester City and was fantastic and stuff. If people think that maybe in a few months' time that they could do with a new left back, and someone to kind of be the next player that takes that position, then fine. I totally understand that, but look, we don't have to do the hyperbole with these people about you get to a certain point where you maybe play relatively poorly 2 or 3 times in a row, and suddenly you're absolutely crap and finished and can't possibly be trusted to play in that position for Liverpool anymore. And it's not the case. He will play well for Liverpool again in the very near future.
He might also play badly for Liverpool again in the near future.
Yes, he will do that as well. That was going to be what I followed it up with. But all of the rest of them will. They went to Southampton and all of them were terrible at the back. The goalkeeper Kelleher was getting praised enormously for weeks and weeks, and maybe he shouldn't actually play Alisson when he comes back, and that Georgian fella might have been a waste of money, and then he lets that in at Newcastle, and it's move him on in January if we can, all of this kind of thing. But like it really is the case that people are judged on the last 15 minutes or something that they played for Liverpool, and he did only play 15 minutes the other day, and it was a pretty bad 15 minutes, so that won't have helped him. But I really do think the fact that he got absolutely booted, and that the opponent should have been sent off for booting him, is a significant factor behind that one the other day.
Hey Keo, post red cards, as Dan says, I think there's 15 minutes where I can't work out where Joe Gomez is playing. But then, as to Dan's point, I don't think Fulham could either. It really did feel as though, whether it was the manager, whether it was Virgil, it was just this carousel of, well, let's see what it looks like if we go this way, and let's see what it looks like if we go this way.
Gavin Birch tucks in a minute and off the 10.
Yeah, Gavin Birch goes here, but then he might go this side for a second or two, and suddenly it was a 3, and then it wasn't. I think fair enough. It was something you don't get that often anymore, which is, normally there's like a click and we go into, we're now in red card mode, and that's certainly what I thought Arteta's Arsenal did at Bournemouth, where they just went even more miserable than they normally are at that point, whereas we went, let's have a look at a few things here, see what we like,
experiment a little bit. I'll be honest with you, I mean, probably because he haven't got a UEFA A coaching badge, I didn't have a clue what was going on. I was just hoping that it settled and we found a bit of rhythm, and we did. We did, to be fair. I mean, it all happened that fast. I can't even talk about some of the shapes that we were in at points. But the best part of it is we didn't go into red card mode, and we didn't just sort of sit back and soak it up. The manager obviously recognised that this happened on 15 minutes, and we've got a long way to go. It's not we're at home to Fulham. We don't just dig in and try and get a draw out of this. Obviously, we need to win this game, and he tried to do that. It didn't pan out like that. But as I said before, that could have went so much worse. But Liverpool stepped up. Players were counted. And the manager as well. The manager done his job big time and pulled Liverpool out of it.
Beth, they all take responsibility. I think that's, if anything, it almost made me more frustrated with the first 15 in hindsight, because they just all take responsibility. Dan said before about Szoboszlai, absolutely unbelievable. Gomez flitting around the place. Gravenberch, it is a staggering performance yet again from him. But every Liverpool player, I think, in that period after the red cards, and the lads who are coming off the bench as well, everyone stands up and is counted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you say, that is why it's frustrating, because you look at them and you think, you can play like that. Like, why don't you just do that from the start when you're not a goal down and you're not a man down? But yeah, I thought Szoboszlai was tremendous on Saturday. I've sort of been banging the drum for him a little bit the last few weeks, because as Dan said, he's had a little bit of a tough time of it in terms of criticism, but. And I'd love to see him banging in the goals and assists, and I do still think he can do more on the ball. I think there was one moment on Saturday in the second half where he carries the ball, he does really, really well, and he gets to the edge of the box and he passes it, and it wasn't like it was a bad pass. The pass was on, but you just sort of think Szoboszlai of the start of last season probably just would have hit it from there and it might have gone in. So I still think he's maybe lacking a little bit of confidence on the ball, but I thought, his relentlessness and his running power was just so integral to everything that Liverpool did on Saturday. So I thought he was great. Gravenberch is just ridiculous, isn't he? He's just... There was a couple of times, like when he was playing at centre half, and someone tried to go past him, and he blocked it with his shoulder at one point, and just like nothing seemed to be going past him. And you think for a lad of 22 who was a bit part player last season to just seamlessly adapt to everything he's been asked to do this season is incredible. So yeah, so many encouraging performances to come out of Saturday. But like you say, it would be nice if they just started games and started that well, and then didn't have to grind it out as much.
On Gravenberch, Keo, it was just like, it is another thing. Yeah, and I think it is back to that idea of there is a real sort of genuine sense of collective responsibility. I think we've often said things like, I tell you what, it'd be pretty straightforward to play centre-back next to Virgil, and I suspect it helps for Gravenberch there. There's playing centre-back and then there's playing centre-back next to Virgil, but he absolutely just controlled that position, controlled so much space, was still so progressive with the ball. He managed to find a new way in adversity to take your breath away, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, he's had his plaudits this season, rightly so. I still think he's been Liverpool's best player. But every week that goes by now, he seems to show me something else. He seems to do more for Liverpool than he done the week before. That's what I said before. I didn't know what was going on after the red card, but it was Ryan Gravenberch that seemed to be the one that knew exactly what was going on and how to play that game and how to sort that out. So, yeah, I mean, I can't praise that enough. I keep seeing memes going around of AI-generated images of him holding the Ballon d'Or, and I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, I mean, I can't speak highly enough of the lad. Liverpool this season, I've had a lot of players who have stood up, but for me, he's been the best.
The other one thing that happens immediately after the red card is suddenly Salah has Robinson absolutely all over the place. There was a bit of chat before the match. Robinson's always defended Salah pretty well. And he has a good game going forward. Beth praised him before, but I thought Salah battered him. It just was every single time Salah got the ball, you could see he was panicked. He was twisting him this way, twisting him that way, especially when he's got such pace. It was like he was looking at Salah going, I don't know what you're going to do next. I thought Salah was the absolute business.
I think as much as all of the players that continued after the red card deserve loads of praise individually and collectively for the performances, I think Van Dijk and Salah set the tone of this is what this is going to be like now, and we'll sort out in the next 15 minutes or so where everyone's going to stand. But more importantly, this is the attitude that we're going to have. This is the approach that we're going to take to the rest of the game. I think Van Dijk just did a lot of things on his own for 10 minutes and calming people down, and Salah set a tone of we're just going to throw it at them and see how they cope with that, because that's all that we've got left at this point. And Robertson is a good player. He's really athletic. Technically, he's got a lovely first touch, can really cross the ball very well indeed. Obviously got 2 assists. But I think you can get at him. And Salah seemed to recognise that. And more importantly, he was fed with some good balls at that point, whereas when they had 11 men, that hadn't happened at all. But, as soon as the season started, I felt like a Ipswich, and maybe even in just the shape that he turned up in mid-July or whatever it was, it's felt like he's really set a tone for Liverpool. And I think this was an example of him doing it again, because he must have worn the armband about 5 times for Liverpool in the time that he's been here. I think that's sometimes understated that he does that, or maybe people think of it as just his tweets about really wanting to win the league that he does every 2 or 3 months or so. But I think so often he takes on a position of leadership and responsibility for Liverpool, and this to me was an example of that, whereby he just kind of looked at this lad who's already having a good game and has already set up 1 goal, and you're down to 10, and thought, no, I'm just going to make your life hell as much as I possibly can, not just because it's a way towards goal, but because all of these are going to back me if I do that.
There is... Then, as we get into the second half, I was worried, Keo, when it was. Thought the crowd was interesting first half. I thought there was just a little bit of. A lot of people could remember that we were 1-0 down, and a lot of people couldn't remember we only had 10 men. It was what I was finding a little bit difficult in the crowd. It was in one sense it was fine to get in 1-0 down. In another sense, I did have a minor concern, because Silva's a clever man. He's a good manager, and I thought, well, I'm not sure what we're doing, but he'll have worked something out by the time we get in at half time. But they come out second half and they take what you've just seen first half and they start even faster again. And I think, as that second half wears on, you see Fulham work it out. Maybe Silva's giving them good notes at half time and Liverpool's momentum just couldn't continue. But the extent to which we deserved the equaliser by the time it came, I wouldn't have been averse if the referee had given us 2 goals for it, because I'd have gone, yeah, we absolutely deserve right now to have those 2 goals, if you don't mind, because I thought that they blasted Fulham for the first 5-10 minutes of the second half.
And I was made up with that. Yeah. I was, because there's, to jump back, the Newcastle game, they started quite similar. They came right at us and it didn't start great. This happened again this week. Obviously we go down to 10 men. I didn't know it was going to pan out, but Liverpool got stronger and stronger. When we came out in the second half, I felt like we were going to get the win. I felt like it was Liverpool going to turn this round. It didn't end up being like that. But the manager definitely got something right. As you said there, though, Fulham are a really good side, and Silva's a really good manager. And you mentioned before, they've got players who are comfortable on the ball. They've got players who can hurt you. So I wasn't going to say I was surprised, but I just didn't know how it was going to pan out. And I'm just made up that Liverpool came out in that manner. I'm also made up that Jota's back on the pitch, and also made up Jota gets his goal, because he's going to be really important for us.
Well, it becomes, Beth, Jota's time to wow. He'd been wowed by Salah, wowed by Van Dijk, wowed by Gravenberch, wowed by Szoboszlai, and then Jota comes on and says they were just a warm-up act. You thought they were good. Watch this. He was everywhere. And it was a display of unbelievable determination, dead-eyed in front of goal. It was a display. I think it's interesting how players react to different injuries differently. So I think, like, for instance, players, I feel a little bit like, this might just be my COD psychology, but something I've long thought from watching a lot of football is when you get a bit of a mad injury and you're probably able to do lots of bits of footy, but you just can't play. I think players come back like they've been starved. I think if you get a hamstring, you're like, well, it's a football thing and I've got a bit of a hamstring and that happens, and then they come back and they play their way back in. I think when players get a weird one, like, oh, I've had an eye injury or I've had this, that's when players come back like maniacs, and I thought he was just like a maniac. He was incredible.
Yeah, I think you could see that from his celebration as well. He sort of pointed as if to be like, I'm back, I'm here, I'm the man, and it was such a Diogo Jota goal, wasn't it? And to be fair, I didn't realise until I watched it back how well he does to take it past the defender there. He made it look so easy in real time, and it was also, the atmosphere at that point was crazy, and you sort of lose track of all the details. But watching the goal back, it was just such a, you feel like anyone else in that position probably would have made a bit of a mess of it, but he doesn't, and that is the brilliance of Diogo Jota. And I saw someone put something on Twitter the other day, and I agree with this. We talk a lot about if we can keep him fit for the entire season. I think we're at a point where you've got to say it's probably never going to happen, just because of the way that he plays. He's always going to get those mad injuries.
Would you deal on Easter?
Yeah, but I think the thing is, you've got
Keo's just lit up. Would you deal on Easter?
Yeah, not after.
You just have to.
It's late this year as well.
40 goals between now and Easter.
It's late this year, Easter as well. By the way, I've been a bit moody there. Would you deal on the Grand National? What's your view on Mother's Day?
You just have to appreciate him while you've got him, and I think, whether he's fit for, or maybe he's fit till February, picks up another injury, and then he's back in April for the run-in.
I'll take that as well.
Yeah, you just have to. He's the sort of player, if he's fit for 2/3 of the season, you say, right, okay, that's fine, because what he gives you in the time that he's on the pitch is massive.
He is so exceptional there. I like Nunez close to him. I liked it last season when we got to see it happen. I think Nunez lays him in for the goal. I thought, the two of them came on, just made a ton of sense. I thought Elliott gave even more space to Salah to be able to hurt them. I think all the subs, in the three attacking subs especially, Dan, I think all of them, they really do play their part in. And Liverpool end up playing 4-1-5, which is also, 4-1-4, yeah, because the fifth fella got sent off. Liverpool end up playing 4-1-4, which I think leaves Fulham again with a couple more questions at that stage in terms of accentuating the positive.
I really enjoyed when it became 3-1-5 and Van Dijk just decided that 2-2.
It's unreal, wasn't it?
I'm not a centre-back anymore. I really want to win, and I can help, and I'm just going to stand here and confuse people even more.
I absolutely loved it.
And I really don't think it was an instruction. He went forward for a set piece, and then it was like he thought, because he sort of started to jog back and then kind of it's the boring choice. I'm going to do this instead. And just stayed there.
5 minutes. Just bobbing around the place playing number 9.
And a lot of the reason that Jota scores that goal, it's not, Nunez finds him, but it's not like he plays him in and has done the work for him. But a lot of the reason that he can score the goal is because Nunez is also occupying the same part of the pitch and therefore the minds of the opposition in a way that, yes, if we'd have just gone, let's bring Jota on but put him on for Nunez, then the goal doesn't happen because the space isn't being taken up in the same way. The manager just really went for it as well, and I think thought there's not a huge difference between a point and none here, so we may as well just try and fucking win it. And I really thought in that mad scramble that they were going to get it.
I did.
I just thought someone was going to get booted, and then Salah's going to stand there with the pet and he's going to rip his top off and we're all going to go mad. It just really felt like that to me, and I was gutted that it didn't.
They defend that well, by the way.
Yeah, so well. The block from the Van Dijk one's unbelievable. I don't know who it was, but
I'm like, lads, he's a coming ninth. Yeah, we've all praised you in a good side, but can you calm down? Genuinely. We've all had a nice time.
It's Christmas.
Yeah.
And also, it'll get played back loads more in the years to come if you just let this go in.
Yeah.
It'll be remembered as a classic far more if you could just arrange for someone to be unmarked at the back stick in the last few minutes. But I mean, Traore had the mad chance as well.
Yeah.
Towards the end, that the keeper did really well from. I loved it as a kid. I really, really enjoyed it, and I think you were right about the first half. The crowd felt really subdued to me. And I mean, I get why, given the circumstances, it's not going that well and stuff, but it'd been really, really good for a few months before that, so I thought there'd be a bit more fuck it, we're not having this. Let's really give it to them. And it took the fast start to the second half to kind of pick everyone up. But from there, it really did. 2 celebrations were fantastic. Yeah. Felt brilliant being in there. And I mean, Keogh said it about much earlier in the game, but once Jota tucks that away, and you can see the goal coming for ages, because he does that drop of the shoulder move that he always does, but no one can ever stop. So you know exactly what he's going to do and where it's going to end up. And it just felt like we're fucking winning this game. And it's happening again. And the fact that he didn't is disappointing, but I still walked away thinking I love all of these and thought they were terrific.
With them though, they do concede in the second half. I think it's about to be. If it's 2 minutes later, I'm saying to people it's been coming, if that sort of makes sense. It was in that sort of grey area because they just began to find space. I thought Iwobi, you could almost measure their game by how involved Iwobi was. First 15, you can't get Iwobi out the action. Second half, from about 55 to 70, Iwobi's everywhere, picking it up, letting Robinson go beyond him, feeding him, bringing people into play. I thought he was the business Iwobi when they were good, Beth. It's happening. It's just a frustrating goal to concede because you're looking at that whole right-hand side and thinking, practically everyone could do better, and you said it before about Trent, and you know, I thought if there was one who sort of disappointed you when they were down to 10, it may well have been Trent over the course of the game.
Yeah, as I said, I was worried by Trent's performance on Saturday, and I think if you go back to the game at Fulham, at the game when Fulham came to Anfield last season, which again was an absolutely mad game, and you almost feel for those Fulham fans because they must have been sat at 2-2 in that away end thinking, not again, they're not going to come back again. But Trent, he scores a free kick, which I think goes down as an own goal in the end in that game, and then obviously scores the winner, and the passion that you see from him as he goes to celebrate in front of the Kop, and just the stark contrast with what we saw from him on Saturday, I thought was sad, actually. And maybe I'm reading too much into it or being too harsh. You know, every player has off days, and that's fine. And you know, he can't always be the difference maker in terms of what he does on the ball. But I think the absolute bare minimum is that he should be given at least the same, if not more, than every other player on that pitch, because he's vice captain and he's the local lad, and he knows what this means to be in a title race with Liverpool. And I just didn't see that from him on Saturday. And it was the first time with any of the 3 players who were out of contract where I've thought that what's going on off the pitch has affected them on it. And it sort of was for me, it's sort of a preview of maybe what's to come, because certainly from where I was sat in the crowd, there was a lot of frustration directed towards Trent at times when he was jogging back rather than sprinting back. And you just sort of think this is going to become more and more of an issue now as the contract situation rumbles on. I think I both agree with Beth in terms of the contract situation rumbling on, but I think it's also the other thing that sort of occurred to me was it will be one which, if Liverpool are not winning games, especially at Anfield, people will just link these matters. Keogh, as Beth says there, I thought I could hear a bit of it around me where I was sat in the grounds as well. There was a bit of a vibe of, oh, well, you know, if you want to go to Madrid, then go to Madrid. And I'm just not having it that really is playing into this. He's just not playing very well, is what I would say, or he's just finding it a little bit harder down to 10. He can't quite find his space. He can't quite get his rhythm going, whatever it is. But all of that said, he just didn't have a good game.
He's also coming back from an injury, and I don't think he's at 100% yet either, which is another factor. But I'm going to be honest, people are on his back. I'm seeing it online, I'm seeing it in the ground, I'm hearing it in the pubs. There's 3 players out of contract. Like Mo said something to the press, but Virgil hasn't. Virgil's basically said they want to talk about it publicly, and that's what Trent said. But all of it, for some reason, people are treating Trent like he's made a decision and treating Virgil like he's thinking about it, and it's a little bit strange for me. It's almost as if people are looking for a bit of a scapegoat, and that's the danger. Trent wasn't good at the weekend. Trent wasn't good at all. He was jogging back. He didn't dig as deep as some of the other Liverpool players. I'm hoping that's not down to a contract issue. I'm hoping it's down to a bit of form, coming back from injury and just not playing at the level that he normally plays at. But we do need to be careful. We need to treat him as a Liverpool player until May, until we hear otherwise. It's not right for every time a player goes past him to say, oh, well, he wants to be somewhere else, or he's got enough money, and all this type of stuff that goes on. Just ignore it. If he's coming out and saying, I don't want to talk about it publicly, let's not talk about it publicly.
It's a very Liverpool thing to do. I don't mean Liverpool FC, but Liverpool the place, to really, really build like local people and local things up and be really, really pleased about how successful they are and what they're doing, and then to at some point go, Billy Big Bollocks, are you? Yeah, exactly. And like really get on the back. And it feels a bit like that to me. I think if he was from a different country or from London or something, and he was in the exact same contract situation, I don't think it'd quite be the same. I think there's a bit of like I think you're better than us, do you? When no one actually knows what he wants to do or what will happen in the same case as the other two. I did think he was rubbish. But I just thought he was rubbish. And that has happened with plenty of the players lately.
There we are. All right, coming up now, Red or Dead is coming to the Royal Court. A very, very big deal indeed in March. Absolutely delighted that Philip Breen popped into the Anfield Wrap to have a chat about it. Here is that chat. It's Neil Atkinson with Philip Breen, the man who is going to direct Red or Dead. This should be like said with like tomes as it comes down. Yeah. You have written and you will direct Red or Dead starring Peter Mullen as Bill Shankly at the Royal Court.
That is correct. Yeah. I think there's some kind of nightmare. I guess I'm trying to bring about.
Because let's be clear about this: you are a match-going Liverpool supporter as well. You love the Reds.
Yes,
absolutely. So you're coming into this knowing the full weight, the full pressure.
Yeah. Well, you get to a certain age, you think something I'd like to do, and then lockdown happened. It's funny enough, and it became my kind of lockdown project. But like many of us, I was sort of quite bereft because it does structure your life. It does structure your like literal reality And so we didn't have football, and so I sort of ended up compiling. The play, in some senses, was really an excuse for me to kind of compile a 150-page document of every game of Shankly's of his managership, and to go through and to go through it in that way. But yeah, it was frequently I wake up. I really am up nights about it. The idea that there's a possibility it might go really well, which would be amazing, obviously. But there's also the other one where I'm sort of chased down the lanks with pitchforks and flaming torches. But I hope it was the former.
Let's hope it is the former. You've got Peter Mullen to play Shankly. I mean, it's a remarkable piece of casting, and having Peter involved must just make you feel like this is going to be picture perfect.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, the honest truth of the matter is, I finished the first draft of the play, and a good mate of mine, Stefan Golodziewski, who directed a show called Mum, I worked with Peter, loved him, and of course, when I'm writing it, I've sort of got Peter in my mind. And things all reality sort of bent at that point, and I got his email address, and I wrote to him and said something along the lines of, "Dear Peter, here is a play of Red or Dead. Just so you know, you're the only person who can play Shankly. Sorry about that, over to you." And then he kind of wrote back about a day and a half later and went, "Yeah, all right, I think you're right. I think I am the only person who can play it." And it sort of has been, and we really haven't questioned it. It's been a sort of fait accompli ever since. And obviously it's amazing to have him. And the one thing for all of my kind of worrying about the play and all the rest of it, the one thing that's always stood us in very good stead every time I've said who's first question, who's playing Bill? Peter Mullen. And everyone goes, yeah. Well, there's no questions, no notes on that. So that's really good. And we're talking about the script now every day. It's really, really exciting. Yeah.
And you've managed to do some community casting as well.
Yes.
And you're in rehearsals at the moment.
Yes.
So it is coming together. It's not until next March.
That's
but
right.
the work is we're recording this in early December.
Yeah.
The work is ongoing now.
It is. Yeah, we cast. So, in a sense, I mean, I've been quite literal-minded about this. In a sense, so I got Peter, who was Shankly, and I thought, well, what is this play in miniature? It's a love story between the people of Liverpool and Bill Shankly. So we've got Bill, and we wanted them the people of Liverpool. Yeah. So we put out a casting call. We saw 150 odd people from all walks of life in the city, and we narrowed it down to 40. Everyone will be involved in some way. The people who won't be involved on stage will be involved vocally, providing cop and singing, chants, all the rest of it. But the 40, we've started rehearsals and started working through this enormous piece, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing to hear all these stories, meet all these people. We really genuinely have a really zeitgeisty figure in our community chorus, a guy called Gary Rogers, who is the artist. He took up art. He's a Hillsborough survivor. He took up art after that whole period, ended up at art school, and he is the author and an artist behind He Fires His Bow, Now Give Him His Dough, and the slot machine piece. So I mean, he was very nervous when it ended up on the front page of the New York Times. He thought he might be in trouble with FSG, might lose his season ticket. But but it's great. I went up to the match with him and to the City game on Sunday. We literally finished rehearsals early so everyone could get there.
Just the right order of events.
Yeah, marched up the hill with Gary and Sylvia. It was great. Yeah.
And you've also obviously worked with David Peace on the project as well. David obviously authored the book, recently had another book out in Munich, and has written many excellent novels. David is excited as well.
David has been great. I mean, it's a great story about how I met David. I was working. Basically, I finished the book in I finished reading the book in 2013. Again, thought it'd take me about a year. The size of it actually took me, only a few nights. And sent him a letter longhand, which was basically, this is better than the Bible and the complete works of Shakespeare put together, just FYI. And then I heard nothing. And then 18 months later, I'm on my first job in Japan. I'm going crazy on the jet lag. I'm literally walking around Shibuya in my slippers, forgetting to put my shoes on. And then an email pops in saying, "Dear Philip, I just want to say your letter of 18 months ago really meant the world. I was going through a difficult moment in my life. But unfortunately, we're unlikely to ever meet because I live in Tokyo, Japan." And so this whole crazy thing comes together, and so we've subsequently become friends. And sending him the first draft of the script, a little bit like sending it to Peter, was very, very nerve-wracking. But when he came back and said how much he liked it, that meant the bloody world. And he actually walks around his. I knew it was a play when I read it. It was like a spoken. It's like kind of something like Under Milkwood. And I think he's kind of imagining 1 million radio reports. Yeah,
very much so. Yeah, that's a very good way to think of it.
And so like in my head, it really was. I was imagining a play, and he walks around his office in Tokyo, speaking a lot of this stuff out loud, recording himself, speaking the text, in sometimes improvising as well, and he writes it all down. So it has an incredible. Well, I'll tell you, but it has an incredible drive and rhythm, and just sounds amazing out loud. And even just hearing in the auditions, just someone, an actor walk into an audition room and just say, "In the wintertime, in the nighttime, they remembered him." Yeah, it feels like a classic line,
It's all there. I mean, and it strikes me, and we'll talk more and we'll talk at length, I think, about the process that you've gone through with the script. But it strikes me that your ultimate job with the script is picking the bits out. It's not, that is the aim here. You haven't got to. It's all there. You've just got to find what the core of this is, and sort of pull it forth and put it on stage. And that's that. When I say act like that's easy, so many adaptations fail because they can't get that bit right. But that is the job that you've got, that everyone's got who's involved with this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really interesting because, of course, the thing to say as well is that it's not, strictly speaking, a biography of Shankly. It's an adaptation of this. Of this remarkable book, and of course it changes shape all the time, and it's a very different play, frankly, after the riots in the summer, and it's now very. There was bits I kind of rewrote. There's nothing new under the sun. And at the time that when Shankly's slightly in the wilderness after his retirement, a new Labour government elected, not particularly loved, far right on the streets, all that kind of stuff, and so the core of it for me. To wax pretentious for a second, is almost like a kind of history play, which is, and all history plays, Shakespeare's particularly, are very concerned with the now.
Yes.
And that seems like a paradox, but that's kind of what it is. And
let's be clear about this. In the period of time from when you started this project, another inspirational manager who changed the city of Liverpool has left.
Yes, exactly.
And that has gone on. When you want to say, you started this project in 2020, at exactly the sort of moment when Jurgen became even more emphatically sort of spiritual leader of a worldwide city. You see what I mean? And since then, that ceased to be, and that's literally what the play's about. The play's about. I mean, unfortunately, Bill couldn't go and work for RB Leipzig.
No, he couldn't. He couldn't. No, that's absolutely true. And I was working on another job in Hong Kong earlier in the year. I genuinely thought it was some piece of propaganda by the CCP or something. I was on a tube in Hong Kong, and the news came through. And I'm quite an emotional person. I'm not a crier particularly, but I literally had to get off the train and sob. It had such a profound effect on me, and in a way, doing it while Jurgen was still there would have kind of been amazing. But somehow doing it in the aftermath of this moment, feels really quite like the right time.
When it broke here for me, I had this thing where I looked at it and I went, well, this is a deep fake.
Yeah, it can't be
and then
true.
I went, and it's from the Liverpool website. And I went, and they've hacked them as well. It's a deep fake and they've hacked. How sophisticated of them.
In a way, I'm still not entirely convinced that it's true, but it does appear to be true. He's no longer the manager, the most important man of my lifetime anyway.
So last part of this then. The tickets are on sale now. It's at the Royal Court.
It is indeed, yes.
You can't get out of it.
No, I've painted myself into a bit of a corner, yeah. That's true.
They're going to oblige you. Peter Mullen's on board. Things are being signed.
Oh, Les Dennis is doing it as well.
Oh, incredible. Who's Les playing?
He's playing various Liverpool chairmen. He's playing John Smith, in fact. So one of the core scenes of the play is when John Smith has to say to Bill, you can't keep coming in, lad. This is no good. You've got to go. And it's very, very, I kind of tear up at the memory of it. But Les is playing he starts off as Tom Williams.
Yes, of course.
Who goes and boxes and coxes to try and accommodate Shankly in the early part of his career, but then kind of comes back because that relationship is very challenging. But then somehow it felt right to double those two chairmen. And that both the guy brings him in and the guy kicks him out, and that's Les, and he's really excited. We were at the Royal Opera on Friday watching Tosca, me and Les, two Scousers. Very Scouse art form, I think, opera.
There we are.
Yeah, but we had a great time. Anyway.
I like the idea of the opera with Les Dennis.
Yeah, it really was a
We
great
could make it
night.
into a show.
Yeah,
if you want, Philip. Let's see if we can crack that one on. Get down on the Anfield Wrap.
Yeah. Me and Les regularly go to different operas. Yeah, I mean, I'm available.
Let's see if we can do it. Listen, tickets are available at the Royal Court. Yeah. It's going to be absolutely huge. It's going to be one of the defining cultural events of Liverpool in 2025. Let's be clear about that. It will be at the Royal Court. It will be from March. It is Peter Mullen. Philip is doing the job. He's doing it right now. He's going to run and do more of it in a minute, and then he's going to come back, and hopefully he's going to keep us informed of all progress all the way through. But you know what you need to be doing? You need to be buying tickets. See you later on. Marvellous stuff. Do get your tickets, as discussed there, end of March onwards to see Red or Dead at the Royal Court. All right, just to let you know as well, on LFC Tours, you can get a festive freebie Christmas gift worth up to £10 for every paying child on the LFC Stadium Tour if they visit from the 21st of December through to the 3rd of January. So very Christmas and family based there from Liverpool during the school holidays. Quote the code Xmas. I don't know what my view is on that. I like the full hit. But anyway, the code is XMAS, the letter X, MAS, gift. The way you'd spell gift, 24 at checkout to receive this offer whilst stocks last. For more, go to lfc.tv/tours. So Xmas, MAS, XMAS. I'm making this harder than it needs to be.
With that, aren't you?
Might edit this bit and Xmas, XMAS, gift, GIFT. I'm sure you know how to spell gift. 24, like the TV programme. At checkout.
Just to be clear, like the TV programme is not a part of the code.
No.
So people are really sure.
Just to be clear. The letters in there as well. The link will be in the blurb, says Andy here, which, my God, is doing a lot of heavy lifting for everyone concerned over the course of this. While stocks last around that as well, and it's lfc.tv/tours. All right then, Australia. Tickets are on sale right now, apart from for Sydney, because it's already sold out, which is quite spectacular. Adelaide has been added. Melbourne might not be on sale yet, but it'll be on sale really, really soon. So it's Sydney on Tuesday the 18th, but it's sold out. It's Brisbane on Wednesday the 19th. It's Melbourne on Thursday the 20th. It will be Adelaide on the Saturday, so on Saturday the 22nd, and Perth on Sunday the 23rd. Perth will probably sell out this week as well, which is very, very useful. Other thing I want to mention is we had Anu in to talk about the Gospel Festival. Which is the Gospel Carol concert, which is taking place on Thursday at St George's Hall. Tickets are still available for that, so if you want to go to that at St George's Hall on Thursday, it will be there. I think me and John are going, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm definitely going. I'm really looking forward to it. John's got kids; it's more complicated. Also, buy my book for Christmas. It's called Transformer. It's about Jurgen Klopp. Come on, you're buying all sorts of rubbish anyway, so why not? Just sort of lash it in there, put it in a basket at some point, and go from there. That's about as passionate as sales pitches get. Just in amongst the other tat. Feel free to get a copy of Transformer. The cover's nice. Say what you want. All right, Southampton and the bigger picture then. Subscribe to the Anfield Wrap as well, but that sounds. You'll be all right with that. There's gift cards. Southampton and the bigger picture then. Dan Austin, because I think agnosticism's a thing. No Liverpool manager can pick a team he thinks will lose, and current climate, having some surety around the idea of picking a Liverpool team that might lose at Southampton's actually a bit of a tricky ask. If Liverpool if there's ever a time when Liverpool maybe could do without the additional games and not least also get themselves a window for someone to drop the Merseyside derby, and it would be no bad thing. The fact of the matter is that when they're all playing and when we're watching them, we would be absolutely desperate to see them win, because you watch a Liverpool team and that's what you get. But I do think that he needs to be canny with how he's managing a few of them.
When we went to Newcastle the other week, I really talked myself in my own head into a two-legger with them in January.
Oh, God.
Because it'd mean we get to go back, and I really like being there.
We had a lovely
I think if I told the manager that's my plan, I think he'd hate it.
He doesn't get to go out with you. He doesn't get to eat in all the nice places.
Maybe we just say, do the game, but then come with us. All right, then. You've swung me.
So that's what you're in it for.
Playing all the big players.
So you're in it for. You want your big.
I really like the League Cup semi away. We went to Fulham last year. We stayed over. It was great. There's some of the best trips. Those kind of like mid-January ones to somewhere unexpected. I mean, it's at this point where it becomes, all right, this is a trophy that you can actually win. Because before this, it's just a couple of extra games that you've got to play, and you see where you end up. I mean, pretty much everyone that's in it's really good still, aside from Southampton.
Yeah.
So it feels like whoever you get through and then get will be a
Palace are beginning to play well. Brentford
have got the most goals in the league.
Something
still,
like that. Yeah. Then or Chelsea.
So there's really good teams left. It will be very difficult, but they've by and large managed really busy weeks so far pretty well, including with missing a significant amount of first team players as well. So I think they'll just go for it as normal. There's not going to be a proper new manager bounce, I wouldn't have thought, because I don't think they'll have a new fella by then. The fella's name is Simon Rusk, I believe, who's going to be in charge of them.
Barley's lad.
He sounds I think it's a really rugby name.
It is a really rugby name, but it's a really rugby
like he's come from Wasps or someone. Just doesn't sound right. So I feel like we should beat him, given he's in the wrong sport.
Honestly, if they start doing mad things at throw-ins.
But I also, talk about what's in Liverpool's interest. They might change everyone, partly because they're shit, and partly because they think, well, we need to get some league points, and we're not going to win this anyway. And there's absolutely 0 point in us playing twice again in January. So you might see an awful lot of people that you wouldn't normally see playing for Southampton. The only issue for Liverpool are the ones at the back, because they've got loads of players in all of the other positions and they'll still be really good. I mean, maybe Jota and Chiesa will get minutes and that'll be really nice, because, I mean, Jota doesn't need to find any form or fitness by the looks of it. It would be just nice to see him play again, but Chiesa certainly does. So, the goalkeeping position in the front six, absolutely fine. They're just going to have to come up with something a bit creative further back, I would think.
Well, that's the key question for me, Keo, is the further back part. I think it might be really interesting what happens in the front six. I think there's a fighting chance Chiesa doesn't start, but is available off the bench. He plays Elliott right wing, Gakpo the other, and actually goes with Jota and Nunez. He played Jota and Nunez together in the first game against West Ham, and then maybe just picks Enzo and Morton in the middle of the park. But then it's what does he do further back, because he obviously can't have Robertson now because he's suspended. I don't think he'd have wanted to do it anyway. So what do you think he does?
Quansah. I think Quansah gets minutes. I don't think Chiesa starts, but I think he definitely gets minutes. So yeah, right, the top end of the pitch will be big changes, but we haven't got lots of options back there. I think if it is players that are going to play Premier League minutes as well, they're not going to be coming out the blocks fired, and it's going to be a very sort of laid back performance from Liverpool in that game if there's Premier League players playing. With the League Cup in general, I'm from the old school of, like, if it's a major trophy, you try and win it. And I've always been like that. I've argued with my mates over recent years with Klopp teams that you'd always try and win it. But experience is now telling me that trying to win 3 or 4 trophies absolutely ruins you. Not just ruins the players, it ruins me as well. So
no one ever thinks about that.
Never mind like the legs and the minutes. Like, what about me and like what I'm like in May? You know what I mean? So, being serious, it's really, really tough to win 3 or 4 trophies. So if Liverpool end up going out in this competition for once, I won't be that bothered, given it's Arne Slot's first season and given how good a position we are in the league. But having said that, these are crap. So we could probably go and play a weekend side and beat them, and then you're in a situation where you have got a major trophy to go and win and kick on the season with. So I think I've just taught myself around. Let's go and win it.
And where do you want it, and B, what team do you genuinely do you think Van Dijk starts?
No, I wouldn't be having Van Dijk anywhere near that pitch on Wednesday night.
So who plays fullback? Does Norris come in and play left back?
Possibly, yeah.
But then who plays right back?
This is the thing. I genuinely, apart from Quance, I wouldn't risk any of them at the back because I just think Liverpool can't afford another injury there. They genuinely do not have the options, especially going away to Tottenham. They can't afford Gomez to pick something up or Trent to pick up.
So you don't even want to pick Gomez?
No.
So, I mean, I'm asking you, you've got to name some footballers.
No, he will pick Gomez, like he will. I would genuinely play kids at the back. Or does Endo drop back and play across the back line somewhere? He will pick Gomez, I think. I think he'll go Quance and Gomez. And I don't hate that, but I just sort of think that the league is too important at the minute. As much as I do agree, and I am very much usually like, especially when you get to this stage of the League Cup, you just think might as well go on and win it now. But I also just think Liverpool just do not have the bodies at the back. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I certainly wouldn't be opposed to having one or two of the under-21s or playing at the back.
Endo and Morton in midfield?
Yeah, unless Endo does something mad along the... Because I think he played centre-back a little bit, did he? For
you could maybe consider putting Endo in at centre-back. You maybe then that let you have Gomez or Quance at full-back, and maybe you have Morton and one of the midfielders in together.
Curtis Jones right back.
Well, that's happened before.
He has done that before.
Well, this manager hasn't clocked it. Yeah. I wonder whether or not you might see a little bit of that, but then you're going to end up spreading your midfielders a little bit thinner. But
then still have Morton, Elliott. Is McAllister available
McAllister's
now?
back,
He hasn't played the last couple.
You probably want McAllister to run around a bit, don't you? Now that you've said it out loud.
Yeah. This feels like there's a way through where there's maybe a kid at left back, but you can play, or even Gomez at left back. Endo and Quance can play centre back. Endo did it a lot for Stuttgart apparently. Jones right back. 3 actual centre mids. You've still got forwards. So you actually can not play children if you want to be a bit weird about it with positions and stuff, but it won't be as insane as it might sort of seem like it could be, I think.
That's fair. I feel as though we've got somewhere. Excellent stuff. All right, last little thing then, just to really sum us up. Dan, it feels to me like it's the most significant Christmas period of the last 12 years. I say that because I think in 18-19 we still, I think it's Wolves away, comes in the 21st of December. We were talking about it the day we go and it absolutely pours down.
Heaviest rain you've ever been.
And we have the fire on the pitch and the DJ, one of the greatest nights of our lives. And that's the point where I think you go, oh, hang on, this is a serious football team that could win the league. But 1920, they were so far clear. It's worth pointing that out. I think 21-22, we still weren't entirely sure if they were in it or not. And also COVID still rattling around the place, and that feels like a distraction. I think this is, from this far out, I think this feels like the most significant Christmas period of the last 10 seasons.
Yeah, because of the nature of the way things stand. So the small gap to Chelsea, slightly bigger one to Arsenal, bigger one then to City. Teams like Brighton and Forest and stuff being around there, it feels like by the time the epiphany comes, 6th Jan, you'll know an awful lot more about who is where and what level of challenge they will provide to Liverpool for the rest of the time. That means I'm tremendously excited for it all. I think there's some really exciting games in there. I think Tottenham will be just a thrill, kind of, no matter how it ends up. The 8 p.m. Boxing Day isn't ideal, but it means it'll be a pretty drunk crowd, and that's always nice. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. Even the manager, when he was asked about it the other day, was saying about how obviously it'd be better for the players if it wasn't the case and they had 2 weeks off, but he's always really excited for it working in his homeland because it's still on, and now he gets to be a part of it, and that's quite exciting for him. So I think they'll all really relish it, despite the fact that it's going to be hard, and there's loads of sports science to be done about who gets what minutes and where and stuff. I think they'll really embrace the difficulty of it, and if Liverpool can just pick up solid points throughout it all, obviously maximum would be terrific, but I don't think it has to be maximum because I don't think any of the rest will do maximum. Then if Liverpool can come out of the other side on, say, the 6th with a similar or maybe at a push slightly better gap, then I think that'd be fantastic.
Would you give your thumbs for 12 from 12?
Oh yeah.
You would? You've got to be able to do this. You've got to accept that this is how you drink drinks like this, because you've got no thumbs.
You also write for a living, bear that in mind.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe not my thumbs, maybe like the tip of my thumb.
Thumb tip.
Yeah, maybe
Okay.
my tip. Yeah.
I don't think you can give your thumbs, can you?
No, I need them.
How about your toes?
I give me toes, yeah. I can't play guitar with my feet, yeah, so I'm a bit
They're more important for balance than you think your toes.
Are they?
Yeah.
Keep them as well then.
Yeah.
Can I keep all me?
I mean, they could still get 12.
But we've got to get 6 points then. That's a trade-off.
I think we'll be all right. And the thing is for me at the minute is I'd be more. I think you're right, Dan. I think you're right. But given the draw at Newcastle and given the draw at the weekend, I want to see Liverpool go and put a string of results together now.
Same. Yeah, with you.
If we would have beat Newcastle, we would have beat Fulham. As I said, look, this Christmas period, City aren't going to get maximum, Arsenal aren't going to get maximum, Chelsea aren't going to get maximum. So don't beat yourselves up if you drop some points. But I'm not saying I'm beating myself up over the weekend because Liverpool, came through in the second half. But we have dropped points. We dropped 4 points in a couple of games there, and I'm not into that. So I want to see Liverpool put a run of games together and put a little bit of distance back in between us and the team in second. That is Chelsea. Because I think if we do that, teams will start to remember that how good we have been this year. We have been the best side in the league this season, and once you start getting that little bit of a gap, teams will know it's Liverpool's league to lose.
There we are. Excellent stuff. Thank you very much indeed to Sam Walker down looking after the images if you've done it that way around. Andy Heaton, you must have had the audio, otherwise the whole thing doesn't make any sense at all unless that subtitling's really come on leaps and bounds. And the purveyors of gold, frankincense and Dan Austin, Kieran, Molyneux and Beth Lindop. It has been the Anfield Wrap this week. Every now and again there is such a thing as a good point. We may just have had it. See you later.